there are growing signs the Albanese government is considering a suite of new wealth taxes. Instead of curbing their record levels of spending, the government is engaging in classic wealth redistribution. Under Labor, the nation is moving from a country of aspirational hard workers to one of entitled welfare recipients who are told they deserve constant handouts in every facet of life. The government is entrenching now an ever-expanding welfare class. This is impossible to fund for perpetuity, and it's retirees and middle-income taxpayers who will foot the bill. One of the first taxes could be on the spare bedroom in your home. There's also a new road user charge for electric vehicles. And there are calls for retirees to be taxed even more heavily. Here was Treasurer Jim Chalmers pressed on this on Insiders yesterday.
Does that mean some tax breaks for retirees will have to go?
Well, first of all, we need to ensure collectively as Australians that the fair go is the defining part of our future and not just the defining part of our past. But ultimately, decisions on any additional tax reforms will be a matter for the Cabinet and for subsequent budgets.
So that's basically confirmation that the government will be considering new taxes through the Cabinet and the usual processes. Although the Treasurer did rule out cutting back tax-free superannuation income in the retirement phase. Now, you heard there he spoke about a fair go. Well, raising taxes for retirees who've carefully planned for their retirement is not exactly a fair go. And then over on ABC Radio, Chalmers was asked whether he's planning any changes to family trusts or to capital gains tax.
Is the treatment of family trusts in your sights or perhaps a reduction of capital gains discounts? Can you change the system without any of those measures on the agenda that genuinely address the unfairness in the tax system?
We haven't changed our specific policies on those areas that you identify, but what we have agreed with the Economic Reform Roundtable is that any further steps that we take down the tax reform path, which would be a matter for Cabinet, would be consistent with those three principles that I mentioned.
Now, none of this will increase GDP per capita, which is the ultimate economic measure of well-being. And as you know, for most of the Albanese government, Australia has been in a per capita recession. The Australian's editorial put it well on the weekend when it said that redistributing the spoils is no substitute for growing the pie. Here's the Oz Leader. It said, policy designed to pillage the capital and savings of older Australians to balance unsustainable government spending will always be a road to nowhere. Government must get its own budget affairs in order and seek a mandate from electors for any changes to the tax mix that it wants to make. And the Australian also asks, how deep will the Albanese government's obvious attraction to what Tom Dusevik describes as state paternalism and a cradle-to-grave care economy be allowed to run? Well, wealth redistribution is a classic Labor technique, and it's one that Chalmers referred to when he spoke of the intergenerational lens on Thursday.
I think our tax system is imperfect, and one of its most troubling imperfections is best seen through an intergenerational lens. And what I mean by that, and really almost everybody around the table had a similar view, which is we take our responsibilities to the coming generations seriously.
It's not just higher taxes, it's high immigration, which is leading to extreme measures on the housing front. Over the weekend, the New South Wales government announced there'd be a new heavy rail station in Woollahra in Sydney's east. 10,000 homes will be built around it. 10,000. Now, Federal Minister Tanya Plibersek backed this in on Sunrise this morning.
you know, you have to make sure that every part of our capital cities is actually contributing to those housing targets. There's no free pass for some, you know, particular suburbs like Woollahra.
Well, I'm glad that Tanya's supporting 21-storey apartments in the inner west. I'm sure her constituents will be happy to hear about the new shade they're about to get.
Barnaby, have you seen Green Square?
Make it happen.
There's high-rise all over the place.
Okay.
You can't,
Harry Truman
I can't
Loft's gonna
walk
love
down
it.
the street without tripping over a high-rise.
Well, you're going to get more
we've got
of them.
we've got plenty of Meriton, we've got plenty
more
of
cars,
Mirvac, I can tell you, all
more
over
cars.
Green Square.
Put you down for
More
21.
crowding.
Green Square.
I mean, but Joyce's overall point in that interview was right. 20-storey high-rise buildings in quiet suburban areas will be extremely out of character. But Joyce pointed out that the bigger issue is immigration. Now, Albanese publicly said over and over again that he was planning to lower immigration, yet this hasn't happened in any meaningful way.
Look, there's basically three things that can affect the price of house. Number one that annoys people is people who are born in Australia or been in Australia for a long while be knocked out of the market by recent arrivals. Immigration, bringing people in, hundreds of thousands of people when the house is not built here, just pushes up the price of house. So immigration, number one.
The Albanese government remains addicted to its Big Australia agenda. And to compensate, the character of suburban areas will change with new train stations and high-rise buildings planned. And the reason there's this dependency on high immigration is because it's the only thing that kept Australia out of recession, as many economists have pointed out.
The federal government loves immigration for two reasons. So first of all, it gives it the illusion of growth and that the illusion that the economy has avoided recession.
And, you know, when they work out GDP per capita, obviously they just divide GDP by how many people are in the country. And if you've got a lot more, it's going to shrink.
Before our very eyes, the nature of Australia is changing. Higher immigration, higher taxes, higher density housing, without any genuine economic growth. And the roundtable from last week will be used as a cover for a suite of new taxes that take from well-off retirees to give to young people who've been conditioned by Labor governments to rely on handouts instead of hard work.